There's a lie you were told, and maybe you're still living in it. The idea that working hard, being disciplined, and doing everything right is enough to get rich. It sounds nice, it sounds fair, but it doesn't work. And worse, the more you believe it, the more you sink into a game that was designed for you to never win. Machiavelli already made it clear, the world doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards strategy. And if you don't understand the games being played, you become a pawn in someone else's game. It's that simple. Now let me ask you an uncomfortable question. Are you really getting freer as time goes by, or just more tired? Because most people are trapped in an invisible cycle. They work more, earn a little more, and still lack real control over their own lives. And that's not a lack of effort. It's a lack of understanding. There's a structure behind wealth that almost no one explains. 3 specific games separate those who build freedom from those who spend their whole lives chasing it. And the most dangerous thing, you might be playing every day and still losing without even realizing it. In this video, you'll understand exactly what these 3 games are, how they work, and why ignoring any of them guarantees one thing: you'll remain trapped. No matter how hard you work, no matter how much effort you put in. Because this isn't about working harder, it's about playing better, and when you understand that, there's no going back. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now, not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. He realized it too late, but still in time to change the game. For years, he woke up early, did everything right, followed the script he'd been taught since childhood. Study, work hard, be disciplined. And yet, nothing really changed. The money came in, but it never stayed. The effort was constant, but freedom never came. That's when he began to suspect something unsettling. Maybe the problem wasn't him. Maybe the game had been rigged from the start. And here comes an uncomfortable idea, almost offensive to those who grew up believing in pure merit. Trading time for money is a sophisticated form of modern servitude. It doesn't seem like it, because it comes with a salary, stability, and even a certain status. But deep down, it's an elegant prison. Machiavelli already spoke about this indirectly. Decisions based on real human nature, not on beautiful ideals. And the reality is simple. Whoever depends on their own time to earn money is limited by a finite resource. And finite resources don't generate exponential wealth. Now, look at this interesting thing. He started observing people who actually got rich, and none of them followed this linear logic. None. They understood something that isn't taught in school or college or most courses, the physics of economic energy. Money isn't about direct effort, it's about the direction of energy. It's about how you position resources, time, attention, knowledge, to generate returns without depending on your constant presence. It seems abstract, but it's extremely practical. For example, a doctor who sees 10 patients a day trades time for money. But a doctor who creates an online course, writes a book, or builds an audience starts multiplying their reach without increasing their hours. That's leverage. That's leaving the field of brute force and entering the field of strategy. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals. The end justifies the means, as long as you understand the game you're playing. And this is where most people get stuck, because they realize they weren't trained for this. They were trained to obey, execute, follow orders, not to build systems, and that's no accident. Systems need operators, not architects. But those who understand this begin to change their way of acting. They start observing patterns, studying those who have already achieved this, analyzing decisions coldly. It's not about working harder. It's about working with strategic intelligence. The appearance of virtue often masks operational mediocrity. And those who play this wrong game for too long end up tired, frustrated, and worse, convinced that that's just how it is. But it's not. There's another level of the game happening. Silent, invisible, but extremely powerful. And this is just the beginning. Because when they started investigating deeper, they realized that there are, in fact, 3 completely different games being played at the same time, and most people don't even know they exist. He began to see something that had previously gone unnoticed, as if a new lens had been placed before his eyes. The problem wasn't a lack of effort. It never was. The problem was the direction of that effort. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. You can work harder, run faster, try harder. But if the system is wrong, the result always escapes you. And this is where a truth that few people dare to accept comes in. Time is not money. Time is energy. And money is a consequence of how that energy is allocated. It seems subtle, but it changes everything. Because when someone believes that time is money, they automatically enter a game of direct exchange, hours for reais. But when they understand that time is energy, they begin to think about how to multiply the impact of that energy. Machiavelli would speak of this as a form of virtù, the ability to act intelligently within real, not idealized conditions. It's not about being the hardest worker, it's about being the most strategic. And then he noticed a curious pattern. The most tired people were almost always the least rewarded proportionally. They worked longer hours, made more effort, carried more weight, and yet they were stuck in the same place, while others, seemingly less busy, accumulated greater results. This isn't injustice, it's structure. The market doesn't reward effort, it rewards leverage. And this bothers many people because it breaks that comfortable idea of justice. But as the cold logic of power already states, the world doesn't work based on what is fair. It works based on what is effective. Decisions based on real human nature, not ideals. And in practice, those who learn to channel energy intelligently start playing at another level. For example, someone who creates a YouTube video can impact thousands of people with a single effort. Someone who works individually needs to repeat the same effort several times. Do you see the difference? Same initial energy, completely different results. But here's an even deeper detail. Understanding this isn't comfortable because it requires letting go of certain beliefs that have been repeated for years. It requires accepting that perhaps you've been playing the wrong game for too long. And that hurts, but it also liberates. Because from that moment on, you stop being just an executor and start thinking like a strategist. Calculated use of force. Instead of spending energy on everything, you start directing energy where there is the greatest return. And this starts small. It could be studying skills that generate scale, such as communication, sales, technology. It could be creating something once that generates continuous return, such as a digital product or content. It could simply be stopping exchanging time for tasks that don't generate real growth. And little by little, the mind changes. The way of seeing the world changes. And inevitably, an unavoidable question arises. If it's not about working more, then what are, in fact, the games that need to be mastered? At some point, he realized that there wasn't one single path to wealth. There were different games being played simultaneously. And the most dangerous of all, playing only one, thinking you're doing enough. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in the most basic game, the one where you trade effort for direct reward, hoping that consistency, discipline, and time will solve everything. But what nobody talks about is that this game alone doesn't lead to freedom. It keeps you functional, but never sovereign. And here comes an important turning point. Those who understand the game change their behavior. Those who don't understand remain trapped in predictable patterns. Machiavelli already made it clear, better to be feared than loved, but never irrelevant. And in the economic world, irrelevance means playing small, playing simple, playing predictably. And wealth isn't built on that field. He began to see that there are 3 layers of the game happening simultaneously, and each one demands a completely different mindset. The first game is structural. It involves how you generate value. The second is perceptual. It involves how the market perceives that value. And the third is temporal. It involves how you sustain and multiply that value over time. Ignoring any of them is like building an empire with an incomplete foundation. It may grow, but eventually it crumbles. For example, someone may have an excellent skill, game 1, but if no one notices it, game 2, they remain invisible. Or they may make a lot of money quickly, but without a long-term strategy, game 3, they lose everything. Virtu and fortuna go hand in hand, skill and opportunity, but sustained by strategy. And whoever masters all 3 games begins to operate at another level of consciousness. And here's the detail that almost no one notices. These games aren't explicitly taught. They're hidden in plain sight. Those who play well rarely explain the game, they just execute it. And those on the outside observe without understanding. That's why many get stuck trying to improve within a system that's already limited by nature. The appearance of virtue, working hard, being disciplined, following rules, may even seem correct, but without strategy, it's just wasted effort. And little by little, he began to understand. It's not about working harder, but about playing better, about choosing which battles are worthwhile, about building something that works even when you're not present. And when that realization sets in, the next question stops being what to do and becomes much more strategic. How to master the first game, the game of leverage, and definitively break free from dependence on one's own time. He finally understood something that completely changes anyone's trajectory. As long as your income depends directly on your time, you don't have freedom. You have a well-structured job. It may pay well, it may even give status, but it's still a limited exchange, and limits don't build real wealth. This is where many people are mistaken because they believe that increasing the value of the hour solves the problem. It doesn't. It only makes the prison more comfortable. Machiavelli already made it clear, indirectly, that power doesn't come from direct effort, but from the control of resources. And here comes the logic of sovereign leverage. You need to build ways to generate results that don't depend on your constant presence. Because, at the end of the day, your time is finite. But well-constructed systems are not. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals. No matter how hard you work, if there's no leverage, you're playing small. And then he discovered the 3 classic forms of leverage and realized that each represents a different level of power. The first is labor leverage, people working for you. It's the oldest model. You hire, delegate, create processes. It works, but it requires management, control, leadership. The second is capital leverage, money working for you. Investments, holdings, assets that generate passive income. This includes stocks like solid companies, for example, Apple, Microsoft, or even in Brazil, companies like Itaú and WEG. Real estate funds, scalable businesses. But the third, this one completely changes the game. It's permissionless leverage, code and media, creating a video, software, content, and allowing it to work for you 24 hours a day, reaching thousands, millions without proportional additional effort. That's modern power. Your own loyal armies. In today's world, this means audience, technology, and distribution. But here comes the most difficult transition, moving from a worker mentality to becoming a systems architect. Because operating is comfortable. You know what to do, you receive instructions, you execute. Building systems, however, requires vision, patience, and above all, tolerance for a slow start. In the beginning, it seems like nothing happens. You record videos and nobody watches them. You create something and nobody buys it, but that's the price of real construction. Calculated use of force, investing energy where the return is not yet visible, but inevitable in the long term. And those who persist in this begin to notice small changes. A sale here, a growing audience there, an asset that starts generating returns on its own. And then something changes internally. You stop chasing money and start building things that make the money come to you. And it is at this moment that a new layer of the game emerges. Because it's not enough to have value. You need to know how to make the world perceive that value. It took him a while to accept it, but when he did, he never thought the same way again. Value in itself means nothing. What truly matters is perception. It seems unfair, it seems superficial, but that's how the game works. How many times have you seen someone mediocre being highly valued while someone extremely competent remains invisible? This isn't luck. It's positioning, it's narrative, it's mastery of optical warfare, the silent battle over how the market sees you. Machiavelli already taught this with surgical precision. The appearance of virtue is often worth more than virtue itself, not because reality doesn't matter, but because the world reacts first to the image, and only then, perhaps, to the essence. And whoever ignores this plays at a disadvantage from the start. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals. And here comes one of the most counterintuitive laws of this game, the law of concealment. The more available you are, the lower your perceived value tends to be. This completely breaks the pattern of most people who believe they need to always be accessible, always responding, always present. But observe calmly, the most valued people are almost always the least available, not because they are arrogant, but because they know that scarcity generates value. Calculated use of force, not exposing yourself all the time, not accepting any demand, not competing for cheap attention. A practical example. A professional who charges low prices and serves any client tends to be seen as replaceable. Someone who selects clients, communicates authority, and maintains a certain distance becomes perceived as rare. And in the market, rare always wins over common. Better to be feared than loved, as long as you're not ignored. But this game goes even deeper. Because it's not just about being seen as valuable, it's about completely repackaging your professional identity. It's not enough to be good. You need to tell a story where you become indispensable. This involves language, positioning, aesthetics, consistency. For example, instead of saying, "I edit videos," a strategic person would say, "I increase retention and engagement for channels that want to grow quickly." Do you see the difference? One sells tasks, the other sells results. Decisions based on real human nature. People buy transformation, not effort. And whoever masters this starts competing for status, not price. And when you enter the field of status, the game changes completely, because now it's no longer about how much it costs. It's about who can have access. And it's at this point that many people begin to realize that it's not enough to build value and perception. You need to know how to play the long game, because without that, everything can disappear as quickly as it appeared. He thought wealth was destiny, until he realized it was an ongoing system. This is one of the biggest illusions that trap people. The idea that there's a moment when you arrive, a number, a milestone, a final achievement, but the reality is different. Wealth has no finish line. It requires maintenance, adaptation, constant intelligence. And those who don't understand this inevitably lose what they've built. How many stories have you seen of people who made a lot of money and then went back to zero? It wasn't bad luck. It was a lack of strategy in the infinite game. Machiavelli would talk about this as the relationship between virtù and fortuna. You can even achieve something with skill or opportunity, but maintaining it requires another level of awareness. And here comes the first brutal rule. Before winning, you need to learn not to lose. And this leads directly to the so-called rule of ruin, a simple principle, but ignored by almost everyone. Never put yourself in a position where a single decision can destroy everything. It seems obvious, but in practice people do this all the time. They bet everything on a single source of income, on a single investment, on a single strategy. And when that fails, the game is over. Calculated use of force, knowing when to advance and when to preserve. This is where the barbell strategy comes in. Protect 90% of what you build in safe structures and use the other 10% for calculated risks with high potential return. For example, maintain a solid base in more stable investments, such as fixed income, consistent funds, consolidated companies, while a small part goes to more aggressive bets, new businesses, more volatile assets, innovation. This allows for growth without fatal exposure. Avoid being hated, or in this context, avoid being eliminated from the game. But the deepest point of this game isn't technical, it's psychological. Because the endless game demands a rare discipline, the discipline of the predator, knowing how to wait, knowing how to observe, knowing how not to act when everyone else is acting. It seems simple, but it's extremely difficult. The world encourages constant movement, urgency, impulsiveness. But those who truly build wealth understand the value of strategic patience, your own loyal armies. In the long run, this means assets, an audience, systems that keep functioning while you think about your next move. And little by little, he realized something almost uncomfortable, that it's not just about external strategy, but about a profound internal transformation. Because without the correct psychological adjustment, none of these games can be sustained. He realized it wasn't a lack of strategy, it was a lack of internal structure, because in the end, it's not the tools that limit someone, it's the mindset with which that person operates. And here begins an uncomfortable, almost brutal process. Abandoning emotional patterns that sabotage growth. The first of these, envy. Not the obvious, explicit kind, but the silent kind, disguised as criticism. When someone sees another's success and instead of studying begins to belittle it. This is common and destructive, because while you criticize, you stop learning. Machiavelli understood this deeply, decisions based on real human nature, and the reality is that those who grow observe, analyze, and adapt. For example, instead of thinking, that guy just got lucky, a strategic person thinks, what exactly did he do that I can replicate or improve? That changes everything. Killing envy isn't about becoming nice. It's about becoming intelligent. And then comes a second setback, perhaps even more difficult, abandoning the idea of justice. This bothers many people because we were taught to believe that effort should be proportional to the result. But the market doesn't work that way. It rewards impact, leverage, perception, not isolated effort, politics guided by reality, not by ideals. The end justifies the means, in the sense of understanding that the result comes from effective strategies, not good intentions. This doesn't mean acting unethically. It means stopping expecting the world to work the way you'd like it to. For example, someone might work 10 hours a day on something without scale and earn less than someone who built a system that runs itself. It's not injustice, its structure, and when you accept that, you stop complaining and start playing better. And finally, perhaps the most powerful point of all, the strategy of silence, building without announcing, evolving without needing to validate every step. In the beginning, this is difficult because there is an almost automatic need to show progress, to share plans, to seek approval. But those who understand the game learn to move in the dark. Calculated use of force, revealing only what is necessary at the right time. Because talking too much disperses energy and attracts attention prematurely. Your own loyal armies are not built with noise, but with silent consistency. And then something curious happens. When the results finally appear, they seem sudden to those on the outside, but they are not. They are the consequence of an invisible, patient, strategic process. And it is at this point that he realizes something even deeper, that above any system, above any strategy, there is a single asset that defines everything. He spent years trying to improve the external aspects until he realized that his greatest asset had always been internal. It wasn't the market, it wasn't the opportunity, it wasn't even the timing. It was the ability to judge, the ability to make better than average decisions consistently. That changes everything. Because in the end, money is just an accumulated reflection of decisions, and whoever decides better inevitably builds more. It seems simple, but it isn't, because judgment doesn't come from theory. It comes from exposure, error, analysis, repetition. Machiavelli already pointed this out with precision: constant adaptability. Those who don't adapt break. Those who don't learn repeat, and those who repeat get stuck. Therefore, more important than seeking the perfect strategy is developing the ability to assess scenarios, identify patterns, and act with clarity, even in uncertain environments. And here's an even more relevant detail in today's world: the age of artificial intelligence. Today, anyone can access information. Anyone can learn techniques, copy strategies, replicate models. This levels the playing field technically, but it doesn't level the judgment. Because knowing what to do is different from knowing when to do it, how to do it, and most importantly, what to avoid. Calculated use of force, choosing where to act and where not to act. For example, two people may have access to the same knowledge about investments, marketing, or business, but only one will know how to filter the noise, ignore distractions, and focus on what truly generates results. And this difference isn't in the information, it's in the interpretation. Decisions based on real human nature, including your own, understanding your impulses, your weaknesses, your patterns. And then he realized something almost unsettling, that there are no guarantees. There is no safe path. There is only a game where you improve your decision-making ability or pay the price for bad decisions. Virtù and fortuna, skill and circumstance, always intention. But those who develop judgment begin to navigate even chaotic scenarios better, avoiding being hated, or, in this context, avoiding decisions that eliminate you from the game. And little by little, the fear diminishes. Not because the risk has disappeared, but because inner confidence has increased. And it is at this point that everything connects. The games, the strategy, the mindset. Because in the end, it's not about money. It never was. It's about who you become by learning to play. Now the question is no longer whether you understood. It's a matter of whether you'll continue pretending you didn't understand, because deep down, you already know. You know that working more won't get you anywhere. You know there's something wrong with the way you've been playing. And above all, you know that ignoring this is a choice. A silent choice, but an extremely expensive one. So answer me honestly. Are you going to keep trading time for money as if that were freedom? Will you continue waiting for recognition for effort while the world rewards leverage? Will it remain accessible, common, predictable, while others build perception, authority, and scarcity? Or will he finally start playing for real? Because nobody is going to do it for you. Nobody's going to pull you out of this game. And the longer you wait to change, the further you get from any real form of freedom. But here's the part that few have the courage to accept. You don't need any more information. You need a decision. Decision to stop playing small. The decision to study who is winning without ego, without envy. The decision to build in silence, even when no one is watching. The decision to take control of your own game. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 games do you realize you've never really played before? Write it here in the comments, because sometimes the first step isn't changing your life. It's about having the courage to admit where you are. And if this type of content has opened your mind in some way, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here you don't learn how to work anymore. You learn to play better.